across a very interesting statement in a book I read. I don't remember the book. I'm sorry about that. But the statement was this: you will be the same person in 5 years as you are now, except for the people you meet and the books that you read. Well, that was a statement that really kind of wobbled me upside of the head, because part of what I want to do with the remaining years that I have on this earth is to work to become the best version of myself that I can be. And part of the way I have done that is through books. I read 2 really great books last year that were outstanding. One of them I'm not laying my hand on right this second. One of those books was this, Be Your Future Self Now. And I'll talk about this more in an upcoming video. This was a really amazing book that I took so many notes and all through it that it is just marked up like crazy. Yes, I'm one of those book monsters. I actually make notes and I highlight things in my books. I feel like that books, instead of just being here to be revered and put on a shelf and never touched again, are here to help teach us things or to take us on journeys. And when I have nonfiction books, I do a lot of writing in mine. I highlight things I come across that speak to me in some way or inspire me. I make notes out in the margin, all of that, because I refer to books time and time again when I need a refresher or when I need to go back and get re-inspired or just whatever I need, okay? So yes, I'm a book monster, but it's because I absolutely love books and the things that we can get from books. The other amazing book that I read last year that I have a copy around here somewhere and I can't find at this exact moment, the name of that book was Bumpers. And it's a little book. It's not very thick. I read it first of all on my Kindle on recommendation from a friend and got so much out of it that I turned around and ordered myself a hard copy. It's a small book. You can sit down and read it in a very short amount of time. But do not let the length fool you, because what is within those pages is extremely profound about how to help create a life that you enjoy and that works for you. Now, one thing that I do every year is I create a reading list, because after reading that statement about you'll be the same person in 5 years except for the people you meet and the books you read, it started becoming very important to me to make sure that I was reading in a variety of genres and that I was really focusing in on the areas that I wanted to work to improve. Now, I just printed this off, but I keep this actually in a spreadsheet. You can keep it in a Google Doc or whatever you wanted to, or you can just print it off. And I sit down at the end of each year and I work on a reading list of things that I want to be sure that I read the coming year. And I have several categories for this. I've got some fiction books that I want to read. I've got business books I want to read, writing books, self-help books, and then other just ideas of things I want to check out. And I create one of these every year. Now, I don't always get to every single book. Sometimes I will find that another book comes up during the year that supplants one of these, but that's okay. But I keep track of the things that I read every year so that I can go back and look and see. Now, I use my power sheets to help this. I keep this on a spreadsheet, and then I highlight out when I've seen something. But I also keep it in my power sheets. I actually like to use the monthly calendar, and over here on this section on the side, I like to keep the list of the books that I've read and the authors that wrote them. However, if you're a power sheet user and don't want to use that, they also have a place at the end of your monthly stuff that is a place for the things that you read or that you listen to. So that's a way that power sheet users can help track if you don't want to keep a spreadsheet or if you're a power sheet user. Now, for this year, I have several books that I have already identified. And I do a lot of things on Kindle, so I don't always have the hardback books of them. But one of the first books I'm going to tackle is this one. I've read this in the past, but it's probably been, I don't know, it's been ages since I read this. But I want to revisit this book, The Big Leaf by Gay Hendricks. And I also, while I was in ordering, decided I wanted to order the companion book that has exercises and things for you to work through. So these are very high on my reading list. Of course, right now I'm already reading a book that is The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell, and it's being an excellent book as well. I'm still reading my way through it and taking lots of notes. But I have some other books on my list as well. The 80-20 Principle was recommended in a business group that I am in. And since I'm working on my fiction writing, one of the books I wanted to read, that I've had this around the house for a year or so, is the Author Estate Handbook. So I try to find books in different categories to help make me as well-rounded as possible I read other nonfiction books as well on particular interests that I have, but I find that reading books, and especially if you come up with a note-taking system. Now, I used to have a friend that I used to joke with. I told her that when I die, you make sure you tell my husband you want the little green spiral notebook, because in that particular spiral notebook, I had kept all of the inspiration and the thoughts and the quotes and things from books I had been reading for years. I have since then, of course, filled that one up and have had to start another one. But I find that just using a plain old spiral notebook and taking notes, first of all, when you finish a book, make note of the book, the author, and then the dates that you were reading this. I find that's a good way to help cement in my brain the things that I'm reading so that I can remember them, and also so that I can go back through this and peruse this later to help, again, refresh my memory and to recapture those nuggets of inspiration and wisdom that might have slipped out of my brain. Now, I have found in the past several wonderful books. I obviously don't have all of them. I don't have print copies of all of them, but some books that I have found that have been very helpful. I recently reread Atomic Habits. Fantastic book. You've probably heard of it. If not, check it out. It's definitely worth taking a look at. I also came across this book in a bookstore, Uncommon Accountability. It is an excellent book as well. Again, I did a lot of highlighting and a lot of note-taking in it. And then a couple of years, I read this book called The One Thing. Of course, the jacket's gone, but The One Thing. This is an amazing book because it helps you to pare down a lot of the noise that a lot of time is in our life and help decide what's the one thing that I can do next, or that I can do this week, or that I can do this year. The one thing that will make the biggest difference towards moving me in the direction that I want to go. And, of course, taking daily action, or at least regular action, even if it's not 7 days a week, at least several days during the week. Taking regular action, those small steps, they do add up, and they help to make sure that at the end of a year or at the end of a project or whatever, that you have taken the steps to get where you wanted to end up rather than just ending up someplace kind of by happenstance. So I just wanted to go in here and talk about the books for a couple of minutes. And I just thought that quote was so interesting that we will be the same people in 5 years. And the reason that hit me was because I don't want to be the same person in 5 years. I want to have grown. I want to have become more tolerant, more compassionate, more knowledgeable, hopefully more informed on certain subjects. But to do that frequently requires a very intentional set of plans to make sure that we are doing the things, and in this case, that's reading the books, that will help to get us there. So I would like to encourage you, whether it's at the beginning of the year or at any time during the year, to become very conscious and very intentional about thinking about what books you would like to read to feed your mind, to feed your soul, to feed your spirit, and to help you grow and become as well-rounded as you can in whatever topics it is that you are interested in. I am a huge believer in the power of books and exploring the wisdom that they contain. And here's hoping that you find the absolute perfect books to go with you on your journey as you move forward.